Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Season 2 finale review for The Boys. And I love this episode. I really, there's so much good stuff in here. You've got violence, explosions, humor, Huey and Starlight, these crazy kids making it in this crazy world. There's a cliffhanger. I'm so happy. I didn't love the start of the season, but I'm all in on the end of it.
Yeah, they really set things up really well for next season. There's a lot of good stuff in here. There were some really good laughs in there.
Yeah, and also they saved some of the best Billy Joel for last, let's be honest here. Only the good die young. I mean, come on, but
yeah, which is kind of ominous with that last scene where he's walking into Victoria Newman's office, but we'll get into that.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, if you guys enjoy this review, we'll try to break down that Victoria stuff as well. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and hit that notification bell for more. We'll have a video up about Season 3 shortly, and if you want to support us further, check those links to the store as well as our Patreon.
There were some really good laugh out loud moments in this episode. That whole PSA at the beginning, hide here, grab a weapon in the school, and somebody holds up that hole puncher and all the confetti falls out. I can't even tell you guys, on the floor. And then that later with the whole news thing, heads exploding, and then right after they show you everything, they have up a trigger warning of heads exploding. I was dying. This really was one of the best episodes.
There are a few things I enjoy more on television and watching people do fight scenes with household objects. This is for those of you who saw Legend of Tomorrow, the last finale was kind of like that too. I loved all the funny stuff, but I think the surprise that so many of us have, and it's something that I did not project at all. I really was all in on this idea that Cindy was behind what happened in the courthouse.
Yeah, and we saw one of you guys in the comments had left this idea that it was Victoria Newman who was behind all the heads exploding. We had seen people thinking maybe it was Edgar that was trying to sort of stop everything from happening. I thought that it could be Cindy. We saw her exploding just people, so if she could explode torsos, maybe she could focus it in and just do heads. But yeah, one of you guys mentioned in the comments, I'm sorry I can't remember your name right now, but shout out to you, you know who you are, that there was that moment that you went back and rewatched it, and I did it too, where Victoria was looking around the room in fear. And then as she was looking around the room, people's heads were exploding, and you were right on the money about it. That is exactly what happened.
Victoria is our head exploderer, if that is a word. She is the person behind seemingly a lot of this, and I don't know yet we can classify her fully in big bad territory, though she did just murder a lot of people, which is not great.
No, it's not great, but I mean, it is part of this show. There are good people that are murdering people, and people in the middle who are murdering people, and bad people who are murdering people. But we don't know exactly what her motivation is. We have some theories that we've kind of talked out of what we think is going on here. But, it was a good reveal, and it was cool. It was a cool reveal.
Well, I'm not going to get too much into the comic territory because I haven't read the comics, but I've done a little bit of research here, and Victoria Newman, the character, is based in part on a character named Victor Newman from the comics, who ends up being a prominent political figure in that source material. It was very much a different character. That Victor Newman was kind of dim-witted and somebody who could be pretty easily manipulated by Vought and other people to sort of do what they wanted. But if they're trying to sort of capture some of the essence of that character in Victoria, kind of like they did some twists with Stormfront for the show, maybe you could argue that Victoria has been sort of set up or is some sort of operative in some shape or form for Vought, where she's trying to preserve sort of that idea of Vought as a regulator of superheroes, and if that's what they want, they probably don't really want people like Homelander deciding that he is going to be the government of everything, and they want to try to curtail things in their own way. They're playing some 4D chess if this is what is going on here.
Yeah, and this would make sense then, because that whole courtroom scene was about to expose everything with Vought. So if Victoria is the person who is responsible, which she is, for exploding everybody's heads, including the person who is about to bring down Vought, why would she do this? She would have to some way or somehow be involved with Vought.
And I think what's important with Victoria's platform, she's not saying, hey, we should pluck every superhero off of the street and we should eliminate this entirely. Like, that's not what I get from her platform. But I am getting that she wants everything to be controlled, and she wants to sort of ensure that there's a separation here, and what better way to do that than to give more of the power over to Vought. You can establish that status quo further, and really the irony here is that Vought in their own mind then can then become the government themselves, and we already know a good bit about how much power they hold. They have a freaking restaurant where you can get a burger inspired by Queen Maeve, so that's the real be-all end-all here, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, Edgar sort of had that same conversation with Billy, that this is all about money when it really comes down to it, and sort of why he wanted V out on the market, and that he wanted to be able to sort of raise stocks and shares and make more money and more money for everybody sort of thing. So this, even though it would be more controlled, he's still going to be able to find a way to make more money out of this.
Yeah, because if somebody like Victoria can just find a way to give more of an established controlling interest to Vought, it is sort of a way to ensure that they have a workaround. They basically have a plan, just a plan B for every single scenario.
Plan B.
Yeah, there you go. See, these people are all calculating. Like, that's what I really take away from all of this, other than that seeing the... So many timeless people on this show, by the way.
I love that actor. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, poor Garrod. Like, what did this guy do to deserve that? Well, okay, you know, he was granted trying to get tax breaks out of Victoria for something he wasn't fully responsible of, but, you know.
Yeah, he was not responsible for that, but it's not surprising that he was going to end up taking the credit for what A-Train did. So we did have A-Train get all that information on Stormfront, hand it over to the boys, and expose everything that happened with Stormfront. And that is like one of the big things that, you know, we're ending this episode with. That Stormfront is, she's not dead, but she's not in good shape, and she is being held somewhere. So she's not gone. I mean, are we going to see her? Maybe not next season, but maybe another season. A lot of her power is gone, and I don't necessarily mean like her lightning bolts or whatever, but her power of influence is gone. So is this a character they're ever actually going to bring back?
I think, you know, The Boys is a Sony Pictures TV show, and you know who also is a Sony Pictures TV show? The Blacklist. I think they have put her in that, like, prison that they put Reddington in season 1, and she's just gonna live down there. But the action sequence with Stormfront and everyone else who's kind of charging at her before even Queen Maeve showed up, like, that was great. Like, that was like the best action sequence I think they've done the whole season, because it's a oh, Stormfront's really powerful, and this is really terrifying.
Yeah, it was crazy that it took Maeve and Starlight and Kumiko to all be able to try to actually get her down on the ground, and it still wasn't even enough. And I mean, Stormfront has been around for decades, so whatever power she has, she's had decades to hone that in and be as strong as she is. But it was crazy to see that 3 people with superpowers couldn't stop her.
I will say that they did. There were a couple of things that were a little bit on the nose here with all of this. Like, the moment we saw Kumiko and Starlight and eventually Queen Maeve, I was like, okay, yeah, they're definitely bringing the slogan from earlier this season back. And the moment that we saw, you know, Stormfront sort of trying to suffocate Becca, I mean, we saw Ryan there. I was like, okay, you know, we know where this is going.
Yeah, which, you know, I knew where it was going, and I wasn't sure if he was actually going to be able to kill her, and I'm glad that he wasn't able to, because this is the first time that he's really using his powers. He's channeling in everything that his dad taught him, that to hate somebody and to channel it in and be able to sort of deal with it. I am sad to see that Becca's gone, but at the same time, I am glad that there was some sort of casualty for that, because he doesn't know how to use his powers. It should be as sort of all over the place as it was, and that something like this would happen. So now we have this Ryan character, which I feel like we're going to see again. But
Yeah.
the idea that he's this young, he feels responsible for killing his mom. His father is Homelander, who's a problem. I mean, this kid, a couple seasons down, hopefully we're going to have many more seasons to come.
Yeah.
This kid down the road could be someone that might not turn out as good as Becca wants him to, because if he is holding in sort of this guilt and it's growing, I mean, who knows which way he's going to end up.
I also wonder what sort of influence or impact that Billy Butcher could end up having moving forward on him, depending on what that relationship ends up being. But I love the growth of Butcher this season. Like,
Yeah.
I think I wasn't the biggest Butcher fan in terms of the boys' characters entering season 2. I felt like he was a little too one note in season 1, but he's at a point early on this season where he's just like hating everything about Ryan and sort of refusing to accept him, and he ends up being the person who really saves him. Granted, originally he basically gave him the worst possible sentence, but he went back on it. Like, he actually grew to show, I guess, an element of Butcher love. He didn't want to be like his own father. He wanted to present something different.
Yeah, and obviously his love for Becca trumps everything else. I mean,
Yeah.
really, I think that was his driving force. It was less about Ryan. It's more about his love for Becca. He can't betray her. Even if he tries, he couldn't do it. And it was also nice to actually see Ryan choose Billy, because he basically just met him. And we did see Homelander have a real moment, and it's one of the very first real moments we've seen out of him, to see that there is a side of him that can care. That moment where they were all in the restaurant and
Yeah.
Ryan was melting down, he was just like, I want to see my mom. I wasn't sure how Homelander was going to handle that whole thing, and got him out of there and flew him out. And I was like, wow, okay, that's not what I expected, actually. I expected more of a like, hey, let's tough it out, we're all good, whatever. I didn't expect him to be like, okay, everybody out of the way, we're out of here. And then have that really touching conversation with him. It makes his character so much more interesting to me now, that I know that there is something like that in him.
I think Homelander, it's hard because, like, there's a big part of him, and it is a very big part of him that is the worst, but there is something about him where I think he wants to be loved, and I mean, he's very narcissistic, so that's not really a surprise, but I think there's a part of him that wants to do what he can to get that love from other people, and I think he does want Ryan to respect him. I think he does want Ryan to love him on some level, and I think in certain moments, maybe that interest just aligns, and I don't know if it's even intentional or not, but I think Homelander can do things that are like that actually are for the greater good of some people. And I mean, he lets Ryan go at the end of the episode, and granted, I think that's because he loves himself and he couldn't stand the idea of his image being tarnished.
That blackmail from Queen Maeve, that idea of no one's ever going to love you, no one will ever love you again, no one will chant your name again, I will make sure that you never have love, is such a crazy threat. Like, nobody wants that, not even just Homelander. Nobody wants to go through life. Everybody loves love, everybody wants to feel love, and that type of a threat, no one's ever gonna love you again, there's the kryptonite to be able to stop Homelander from doing anything. And it's pretty crazy that that's what it took.
And it all makes perfect sense. Like, that's what I like about it the most, is just that there's been so much setup on how much Homelander, he needs that validation. Like, that is the only thing that really seems to drive him, is to have people, whether it is literally or metaphorically, just like worshiping him.
Yep.
On some level. Like, it's incredibly important, and there are other, I think, little moments in this episode that signify like so much growth. Like, even just Starlight at the end of the episode. You know, she's wearing her old costume again. Like, she's sort of finding sort of a part of herself that she had even before she got mixed up into all of this craziness.
Yeah, and she's even wearing the cross again, which is something she hasn't been doing in a long time. Her relationship with her mom's a little bit better. Her relationship with Huey is better. There was, at the end of this, a lot of, so we saw Mother's Milk get back, you know, with his daughter, which was so cute, holding the penguin,
Yeah.
which I know you probably
I love
loved.
penguins.
And then we saw Frenchie and Kamiko go out dancing, which was really sweet. And now they're able to communicate better. I mean, there was a lot of sort of nice tie-ups at the end. That's why I was kind of like, where are we leaving off with this? It can't just be like everybody is rainbows and kittens here.
I was like 85% sure at a certain point. It's like, okay, somebody is going to come and like kidnap at least one of all of these people, or somebody's going to get like brutally wounded, and no. They actually gave us, like, moments to be happy, where it's just like, oh, look at you, Frenchie, Kamiko, look at you, Huey and Starlight, it's all
but
working
then there
out.
was the whole, Huey is walking to Victoria Newman's office, and then they're playing that Billy Joel song, and I was like, oh, no, this is so bad. Things are going to be so bad next season, but so good.
We just all have to sort of take a collective breath, relish in our little victories at the moment. A lot of characters get little victories, except for the Deep, who is just totally screwed over.
I am very excited to see what's going to happen with him next season, because I did think that they were trying to build towards either bringing A-Train back or both of them back. And I like that he got screwed over again. That it's like he went through the whole first season, he got kicked out and everything that happened to him. He's went through this whole, like, I did everything right and I'm still not going to be accepted. I'm very curious to see where he goes in season 3 now, what they're going to do with him, how dark things are going to get for him, because he's tried to get that redemption and nothing is working. He could get real dark going forward.
I hope he does. Like, I think this episode does a great job of reminding us there is humanity in this world, which I think we needed because it gets so big and so crazy. But that nothing is settled. There's still a lot of people who have motivations to wreak havoc moving forward.
Yep.
We have a new potential villain. Who knows about Stormfront, if anything else is going to happen there. But
Yeah.
I just think such a good, satisfying finale. It makes me so excited for what's coming up next. And with that, we will have another video talking about what could be coming up next.
Yep.
But for now, what did you guys think about The Boys Season 2 finale? Did you feel like it was super? Okay, that's a terrible pun. I'm sorry. Okay, let us know in the comments if you do like this video. Give us a like, subscribe, support us further. Pretend I didn't make that pun. Check the links to the store or the Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.